So we're going to first start chapter 3 section. We're going to finish up chapter 3. This is the last section of it. Solving equations and inequalities with absolute values. This is pretty straightforward. Actually, we talked about this in the first month of class. We saw how to solve these. These are in there. So we'll go over these pretty quick. First off, the absolute value looks like this. What does it mean? What does an absolute value do? What does this symbol here do? The absolute value actually represents the distance a number is from 0. So that's what the absolute value is all about. So in other words, if we're in Arlington, or it's in Grand Prairie, Dallas and Fort Worth. Let's say that, how far is it from Grand Prairie to Dallas? Give me a guess. It's about 23 miles maximum. It's not even that much. It's like 14, 15. How far is it to Grand Prairie to Fort Worth? Let's say the same thing. Let's say we're at exact middle. But if you think about it, if we had a number line, wouldn't this be positive and this be negative? That's what absolute value does. Distances do not have signs. Distances do not have signs. It's from wherever you are to wherever you're going. That's the distance, no matter where you're doing, where you're going. And that's what the absolute value does. So any number inside there is asking you, okay, from 0, how far is the number 3? 1, 2, 3. It's 3 units away. If I had a number to the left of it, to the left of 0, how far is that away from 0? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 units from 0. So that's what the absolute value sign does. Whatever value, not an equation, value, whatever number you have inside there, you drop the absolute values and make it positive. But you have to be careful. What would that answer be? Think of order of operations. What do you do first? Can you do anything inside the operation? So now we do the operation. What's the absolute value of 3? It's 3. This negative stays in front. So the answer is -3. If it's outside, it stays negative. As opposed to something like this. What would that equal? Why is it -3? Right, because do the operation first, Absolute value of -3 is 3, and the negative's out front. Now, if you had to put an equation, a formula down for absolute values, it would be this. Think about it. If I had absolute value of -3, so I have -3 inside there. What happens when you square a negative number? So -3 squared becomes what? +9. What's the square root of 9? So the square gets rid of the negatives. And the absolute value shrinks it back down to where it began. So if you're going to put an equation to it, that'd be the equation. So instead of doing that, we just get rid of this negative sign inside there. So far, so good. So that's if we had a number. What if we had an equation? Let's say that absolute value of x is equal to 3. What does that mean? What are my answers here? Is 3 away from 0. So what numbers does that make my answer? What does x become? Yeah, it becomes positive -3. Because both of those numbers are 3 away. So here's our first rule of solving absolute value equations. Absolute value of x equals some number a. When you drop the absolute values, you have to put a plus or minus in front of that number. Here's an example. Solve for x. How would you do it? So here are the steps. Before you do anything, you have to make sure the absolute value is by itself on one side. Once the absolute value equals some number, we can drop the absolute values. That means we have to put a plus or minus in front of the 5. Then what do you do? No. Well, yes, you do, but we can't do that first. What this means is we have two equations to deal with. We have x minus 3 equals +5, and x minus 3 equals -5. Now we get rid of the 3. We add 3 across the board. So x is equal to 8. That's one solution. And x is equal to -2. How do we know you're supposed to have two answers? Three is two. And always, always, always check your answers. Always check your answers. So if x equals 8, we have absolute value of 8 minus 3 equals 5. 8 minus 3 is 5. So 5 equals 5. That works. If x equals -2, -2 minus 3, -2 minus 3 is -5. Absolute value of -5 is 5. They work. That works good. All right, so let's look at a bigger equation now. Go for it. Remember, the steps are isolate the absolute value. In other words, get any number, get rid of anything plus or minus to it first, and get rid of anything multiplied divided by it next. So our first step is get rid of the 5. We have to add 5 to both sides. Seven plus 5 is 12. Next step, divide by 3, because we have to get the absolute value by itself. Twelve divided by 3 is 4. Now what? Yeah, drop the absolute value sign and place a plus or minus in front of the answer. So we drop the absolute value. We put a plus or minus in front of the answer. Set the equation for both plus minus. We have x plus 2 equals +4. X plus 2 equals -4. Solve for x, then check your answer. So we subtract 2 across the board. X equals 2. X equals -6. And they're going to work. 2 plus 2 minus 5. -6 plus 2 minus 5 equals 7. Absolute value of 4 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Minus 5 is 7. -4. Absolute value of -4 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. Minus 5 is 7. That's so far so good. And that's so like inside the absolute value, it doesn't matter where the x is either. So you just solve it that way. But it's very important to be very careful on how you solve it and check your answers at the end. All right, let's look at another one. There. All right. So we add 2 to get rid of that one. We have -2, 3 minus x equals -6. Now what? Try to get away from dividing by negative numbers. Change the signs first. Only the coefficients. Change this sign and that sign. Because if you divided by, then you have this equal sign, you have a dividing line, you have another negative. It's just too many negatives to worry about. So we have 2 equals 3 minus x equals 6. Then divide by 2, get rid of the coefficient, because you have to have the absolute value by itself. Then what? Get nervous, get nervous. Nope. Inside there, you can't do anything inside there. We drop the absolute value. You have to put a plus or minus in front of here. You're getting gun shy there. Now we do both sides. 3 minus x equals 3. 3 minus x equals -3. What do you have? No, subtract 3. So we have -x equals 0. -x equals -6. Change the signs. So these are your answers.
negative. We could just like change it up and change the sign.
On this last step? Yeah, well, what you would do next would be, in essence, multiply by -1. So you multiply -1 times this becomes positive, it still becomes 0. -1 times this, -1, just change the signs. So just change the signs across the board. And if you check your answers, you get the same answers. It'll be the same thing. They both work. -2, 3 minus 0 minus 2 equals -8. -2, absolute value of 3. Absolute value of 3 is 3. 3 times -2 is -6. -3 inside the absolute value. Absolute value -3 is 3. That's 2. -6 minus 2 is -8. So they both work. I mean, I'm not gonna waste my time. I mean, you guys should know how to check the answers already. All right, let's try one more. Then we'll move on to inequalities. There. First step. What's your first step? What did y'all do first? Get rid of the 5, right? Get rid of anything plus or minus. So since a plus, I subtract 5 from both sides. Next step. Property, because we have to get the absolute value by itself. Next step. What? Nope. What'd y'all get? You would normally. Why is it no solution? Nope. Okay. Let's pretend. Let's go on. Let's go. Okay. So at this point, we would change the sign of the answer. So we have 3x plus 2 equals plus or minus of -3, which would in essence still be plus or minus 3. So we subtract 2. Well, we have to do 2 of these. Would be 1 or -5. Because remember, at this point here, we'd have 3x plus 2 equals 3. 3x plus 2 equals -3. So we subtract 2. And then we divide by 3. All right, so let's check the answers. So we have two absolute value, 3 times 1/3 plus 2 plus 5 equals -1. The threes cancel, so we have 1 plus 2 plus 5. 1 plus 2 is 3. The absolute value of 3 is 3. Two times 3 is 6, plus 5 is not equal to -1. Likewise, we do the same thing here. -5/3 plus 2. The threes cancel, so we have 2, -5 plus 2. Makes it -3. And we get the same answer as before. What does the graph of the absolute value look like? The graph of the absolute value of x looks like what? So if y equals that, we drop the absolute value, we get y equals plus or minus x. So we have two parts. We have y equals -x and y equals positive x. Positive x is a slope like that. Negative x is a downward slope. So it's the v. Again, back to the thing I told you a month ago. The sooner you memorize library of functions, the easier the stuff becomes. Why is this helpful? Can my answers ever be negative? No, there's no graph down here. So you can never have an answer that's negative of an absolute value. Absolute values can never become negative. So once you get to this point here, you're done. You don't have to go any further. I had to throw that in there just to ruin your confidence. No, just to be very, very careful. Just because there's negatives, it only matters when the absolute value is by itself. If there's a negative sign on the other side, equal in the equal sign, you can't go any further because absolute values can never equal negatives. So that does it for the equations. Let's look for inequalities now. We have two of them that we have to look at. All right. So absolute value of x is less than a. So that means there's an a out here somewhere. And the x's, remember, absolute values is the distance from 0 to the number. So we're saying it's less than a. So these are all my x's. It goes from a to 0. Well, there also has to be a negative a it goes from A to 0. So if we have an absolute value is less than a number, it actually becomes this equation. Because x is bigger than negative a, but x is less than a. So if I had absolute value of x is less than or equal to 3, what would that graph look like? Here would be open. So what's that graph gonna look like? -3 to 3. Are they open or closed circles? Closed because of the equals. And x is between there. So less than means it goes from that number down to 0. It's opposite now if it's greater than. If we had some number a here and x is greater than a, that means it's going towards infinity. Open circle. So since it's going away from 0, we do the same thing from negative a. It goes to negative infinity. So if absolute value of x is greater than a, that means it's going towards infinities. So this one looks like x is less than negative a, or x is greater than a. And remember, we also have the interval notation. We did that at the end of chapter 1. So we'll do that one. All right. Since it's greater than, we know we have to use this formula set. So x is greater than a, so this part stays the same. X plus 3 is greater than, but on the other side, we have x plus 3 is less than equal to -2. So look at the formula. If it's greater than, then the negative side is less than negative a. And we just subtract 3 across the board. And there's your answer. And, you treat them like you do the algebra equations. That's all there is to it. Any questions?